What's up, guys? I'm going to be dropping my very first mock draft on today's show, but I asked before on Instagram, and I got some people who hit me up, but I want to ask one more time before I put out some fan mock drafts here on the channel. I'm going to be picking out the very best ones. Hit me up on Instagram or on Twitter and DM me photos of your mock drafts. I want to see all of your options, all your guys, mock drafts for the Houston Texans for this upcoming season. One, I kind of like seeing the thought process of some of y'all, other Texans fans of what y'all would go in maybe the first or second round, what y'all think the biggest needs are for the Texans, but also it's mock draft season. It's a ton of fun. The Super Bowl is almost here, so it's about to be full swing draft season here in the next couple of months. So go ahead. Those links are going to be in the comment section in the description of today's video. Go ahead and hit me up on Twitter and send me your mock draft. So on today's show, as I said, that my very first 7-round mock draft for the Houston Texans, no trades. No trades, and I know that seems kind of odd because Nick Caserio, only, I guess, behind Howie Roseman of the GMs, most likely to make a trade during the NFL draft. Both those guys was kind of just like shuffling draft picks last year. But I thought for the first one, let's keep it chalk. Let's keep it plain. I'm just going to take whatever picks the Texans have, which are 6 of them in this year's upcoming draft. The only pick we're missing is a 6th-round pick. We lost that in a trade that we made last season. So we have our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and then a 7th-round pick as it stands right now heading into the 2025 NFL draft. So with my first pick, my first-round mock selection, Tyler Booker, offensive guard from Alabama. 13 games played, a 66.5 PFF grade this past season. 0 sacks allowed for Booker, who is viewed as an interior offensive lineman at the next level. He played very little on the outside. Most of his time at Alabama was spent on the interior. And, I think PFF is a little hard on him, to be honest. His overall grade, like I said, 66.5. He has a pass blocking grade of 86.5, though. A run blocking grade of 63.9. 0 sacks allowed, 7 penalties, which I think is pretty impressive, being that he had a quarterback that was very mobile this past year in Jalen Milroe, like to run the ball a ton and still no sacks allowed. I think that's pretty impressive from Booker this past year. 3 hits, 7 hurries, 7 penalties for Booker at Alabama. And, I like this option. I like going offensive line in round 1. I was between him and the kid from North Dakota State. I went ahead and went with the Alabama prospect just because I felt a little safer doing that. But I'm a believer that the Texans need to reset the offensive line this year. And I think that starts in the draft. I think unless there's an amazing player, a can't-miss prospect that falls, maybe somebody that's top 10, top 15 on your draft board that somehow falls down to 25, then you must go O-line in this year's draft if I'm Nick Caserio in the Houston Texans. That's just me. That's my opinion. I think that's exactly what the Texans should do. I've seen a lot of mocks where people are taking wide receivers in round 1, which is fun, but at the end of the day, the Texans still have Nico Collins, who is a good wide receiver 1. You can pick up some more wide receivers, and there's other chances to get wide receivers in this draft. I'd much rather go O-line with the blue chip prospect with the round 1 guy for you Houston Texans. What say you, though? Should the Texans go O-line in round 1? Give me a yes. Give me a no down in the comments section. Give me your thoughts on what you think the Texans should do. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break here, hey, it's all good. Scrolling down. Give me your thoughts on where you think the Texans should go in round 1. I love this so much. I'm going to double dip. I'm going O-line in round 1, and I'm going O-line in round 2, bringing back the Houston native Donovan Jackson from Bel Air, Texas, the Ohio State Buckeye. I'm taking him with my 2nd pick in this mock draft. 14 games played this past year, and pretty decent PFF grades. A 71.8 overall grade, pass blocking grade of 70.0, run blocking grade of 70.3, 2 sacks allowed, 2 penalties for Jackson in 2024. And look, he's a good prospect, but my favorite thing about Donovan Jackson, he's a good player. He's also a very versatile player. Has played everywhere on the offensive line for the Buckeyes. Has played left tackle when they needed it. Has played guard. I think he translates to maybe a little bit better of a guard at the next level, but I think he can do whatever you need. If you need him to play, a swing tackle, I think Donovan Jackson could do that if needed. If you needed him to play guard, I think he could do that. I mean, hell, if you even needed him to do center, I think you could train him up to do that. I think he's a very versatile guy on the offensive line. Obviously, Ohio State Buckeye has that connection somewhat with C.J. Stroud a little bit. So I don't know. I think that would be a good pick in round 2. And I said it here first. Biggest weakness is the offensive line. So if their first 2 picks are O-line, I am perfectly okay with that. Because I don't want another season of C.J. Stroud on his backside. I don't want another season where I'm watching the Texans offensive line try to run block in the playoffs and they can't get a yard when they need it. I've had it. I need the Texans O-line to improve this next year. And if that means spending the very first 2 picks on O-line, then so be it. I'm willing to do that because I need this O-line to step it up this next season. Now, coming up, I actually make my first selection that's not an offensive lineman. Stick around, see who it is in just a moment. But first, got to show some love to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. They are daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. It is the best place to get real money action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks, hey, they make it easy for you. All you got to do is choose 2 to 6 player stat projections and then go more or less on them. That's it. And you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. So don't walk, run your game all season long on Prize Picks. And hey, the big game, it's almost here. Last game of the football season. It's now or never. So download the Prize Picks app and get in on the biggest game of the year and the best place to win cash while watching the big game. And they're going to make it even that much easier for you. They're going to give you a free pick. Patrick Mahomes, all he has to do is throw 1 passing yard and you get a win on that square. Pair him with another stat projection. It could be in the big game. It could even be, somebody in basketball, somebody in hockey from a different sport. Just pair him with whoever, and you can watch the winnings roll in. Download the app today and use that code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, sign up using that code CLNS, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started and use that code CLNS to get that $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup over at Prize Picks. Run your game. This is a big meat mock draft. We're talking all the big boys. My 3rd round pick in this mock draft, I'm going defensive line, defensive tackle, Deone Walker out of the University of Kentucky. This past year, a little bit of a down year for Walker, but hey, I still like him as a prospect here in the 3rd round. Look back to that 2023 year, 55 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. Now, Kentucky was a better football program, arguably in 2023 than they were in 2024, but still, I like his upside at the defensive tackle spot. And with the Texans having multiple free agents at that DT position, I wouldn't mind getting some youth, getting some fresh blood here for the Texans defensive line in one Deone Walker. I know this is maybe a little bit crazy, and a lot of y'all are saying, Jeremy, you're going O-line, D-line with your first 3 picks. You betcha. Because games are won in the trenches, and if I believe that, then I got to put my money where my mouth is. And with my very first mock draft, I'm doing just that by going O-line, D-line. Now, my next pick for the Houston Texans, the 4th round mock pick, is going to be Billy Bowman Jr., safety out of the University of Oklahoma. Just transparent, I actually covered this guy in high school with my time covering high school football in the DFW area. An uber talented kid and a very athletic defensive back, and I think he translates pretty well to the next level, and I think a pretty good pick for the 4th round for your Houston Texans because they have a need there at safety, right? Jalen Petrie coming off of injury, Jimmy Ward coming off injury / I don't think he had his best year last year. You have Eric Murray, who is a free agent. MJ Stewart is a free agent. So insert one Billy Bowman, who did a decent job last year. 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, a quarterback rating, win target of 79.6, and a 4-year starter at the University of Oklahoma. Well, 2021 maybe a spot starter, but still has played 4 years at the collegiate level. And I think, this past year, Oklahoma was not very good. But in 2023, not too bad. 6 interceptions for him. 8 PBUs and 3 interceptions in 2022. He's a ball-hawking safety. I think he has a good eye for the football. And I think him paired with Kalen Bullock, Jalen Petrie, I think that adds a pretty nice piece to this Texans secondary that already has a ton of young talent. So give me Billy Bowman Jr. in round 4. And I know what most people are thinking at this point. Jeremy, you've gone 4 rounds and you haven't taken a wide receiver? Tank Dell's injured and Stephon Diggs is a free agent. Jeremy, what are you thinking? Well, hey, don't worry. I waited till round 5. I got a receiver, but I think I got maybe a hidden gem in this year's draft in Ricky White III, receiver out of UNLV. 6'1", can take the top off of a defense. 79 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns this past year for the Rebels. I think he's a steal in round 5. I think this is a diamond in the rough, if you ask me. Has maybe a little bit of the dropsies. Maybe I say what you will. 2022, 9 drops on 51 receptions. Not a great look there. But the past 2 seasons for Ricky White III, he is somebody, like I said, who can take the top off of the defense, is a speedster. And I think you add him alongside Nico Collins, he could be a very good receiving threat for the Texans and for C.J. Stroud this next season. I know a lot of people want the Texans to go receiver in round 1 or 2. I'm just not there. I would rather take a stab at somebody in the 4th or 5th round if I'm the Houston Texans, because you're already good at wide receiver 1. You have Nico Collins. You can go out and maybe sign a couple free agents as well. Your biggest needs are on the interior, if you ask me. And I think addressing that is the bigger need. And you can maybe take a stab at a guy like a Ricky White III in the 4th or 5th round and could maybe, find another hidden gem that maybe other teams didn't look at as closely. Now, with the last pick, this one, it's the 7th round, and PFF, where I did the mock draft, they gave me a C- on this pick, but whatever. I'm going running back Donovan Edwards from the University of Michigan. I don't hate the pick at all. 7th round, you're looking for upside. I think Donovan Edwards gives you just that. Has played 4 years for the University of Michigan and, hasn't lost to Ohio State. So there's that for him. I mean, this past year, obviously, a little bit, underwhelming. But if you look at those 2022, 2023 stats, and you just have to remember, Donovan Edwards was part of a stable with Blake Corum where he didn't see all the touches. It was a mixed backfield. But still, if you go back last season and you look at Michigan's title run to the national title, Donovan Edwards was a major part of that. I mean, major part of the win against Ohio State and a major part of the national title win up against the University of Washington. He was key to both of those games in 2023. Yes, didn't have the 2024 that he wanted, but I think you can say that about the entire Michigan Wolverine team. They had a really down year. So does that take away from Donovan Edwards and what he did for the past 4 years? In my opinion, no. I think he'd be a decent pick for the Texans there in round 7. You have Joe Mixon. Obviously, you still have Dameon Pierce, but add him as another rotation back. The Texans did this last year with Jawar Jordan. He didn't end up making an impact for the Texans, was on and off the practice squad. But hey, another 7th round pick. Why not just take another stab at running back and see if you find another gem, another diamond in the rough. So here is my mock draft, my first mock draft, the Jeremy Chuggs 1.0 mock draft. Give me a grade down in the comment section. A, B, C, D, or F. And don't forget to send me your mock drafts as well, as we'll be having a ton of mock drafts here in the near future.